I'm Mike Falk. I'm your host today. I'm the club president, and I'm glad you're all here. I know it's been busy, there's a lot of stuff going on, so I'm glad you took the time to show up today. Can everybody hear me okay? How about everyone on Zoom? Can you folks on Zoom hear me? Yeah, we can hear you. Really cool. I'm going to take a moment here to thank all the volunteers that helped put this together. It doesn't just happen. There's a lot of volunteers out in the tea room. There's a lot of there's volunteers out in the tea room. They set up tables. We've got the Public Education Caucus. This kind of is showed up here to say a few words later, maybe we get the time. We've got two speakers today. We're supposed to have two speakers today, but one of our speakers, Aramis Ayala, was sick yesterday, so she won't be coming in today. And I know you're disappointed, but we'll try to get her back before the general election. So with that, please turn your cell phones off. And let's do the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, thank you. Okay. Let's have a moment of silence. There's a lot going on in the world, Ukraine. It seems to be mass shootings all the time, so let's have a moment of silence for that. All right, thank you. Thanks, everyone. We've got a big crowd here today. Wow. How many on Zoom, Rick? Cool, way cool. Okay, next slide. Okay, you can take a picture of this. The Zoomers can take a picture of this. The people in the room, you can take a picture of it, but this will be posted so you can get, for Ukraine, it's how to help, how to send money, and anything like that, so thanks. Okay, we have some open officer positions. You're looking to make a difference? Well, this is a good place to do it. And we've got the Vice President of Programming and the Vice President of Communications open. And if you have an interest in either one of those, or serving at all on the board in a volunteer role or a director role, or bringing any expertise you have that could help us get our message out and improve voting and elect Democrats, and just be generally support the club efforts, then talk to any board member. Thank you. Okay, I know there's been a lot of negative press lately about the Biden admin kind of not getting anything done well. Just from looking at the screen, there's been a lot of accomplishments. So with that, it's like the latest one is the Infrastructure Reduction Act. That's huge. And I've got some stuff here that have to go to my specs to read it. So it's gonna raise revenue by 737 billion, invest 437 billion. And it's gonna reduce the deficit by 300 billion. That's gonna impact everyone in the U.S. for the positive. So, with that, it appears our guest speaker has arrived. Okay, welcome Adam Hattersley. Adam is he's a candidate for CFO, I believe. So anyway, we're glad to have you here. Come on up if you're ready.
Awesome, this will work. Good morning, Villages Democratic Club. So essentially, that's me. My name is Adam Hattersley. I'm your statewide Democratic nominee for Chief Financial Officer and a spot on the Florida Cabinet. I'm the only statewide Democratic candidate with no primary, so you won't see me on your early vote or vote by mail ballots for August, but you will in November. So I'd like to start these. Does anybody know what the CFO is or does? Anyone? Okay, like 2 or 3 people. I'm glad everyone's in a good mood and laughing because I try to keep it a little light. So everybody knows what the Attorney General is, right? The people's lawyer. Thanks to Nikki Fried, everybody knows what the Agricultural Commissioner does. It's kind of right there in the title. The CFO, it's everything else. No, I'm kidding. That's the first time I've gotten a laugh at that line. That's good. It's the state treasurer. It's the head of the Office of Insurance Regulation. It's on the State Board of Administration, on the Clemency Board, the State Fire Marshal, the head of the State Cemeteries Division, all the really sexy jobs. But out of all the cabinet spots, it actually affects your day-to-day life far more than any of the others, and we'll get into that. But first off, let me kind of introduce myself to you, because I don't think I know too many of you guys. I grew up in Littleton, Colorado. Hey, all right, that's some Coloradans. After high school, I went to the University of Michigan. Any Wolverines? There we go. That's what I'm talking about. I have bachelor's and master's degrees in aerospace engineering, so technically I am a rocket scientist. And even though the CFO role doesn't really officially take a rocket scientist, I mean, it never hurts to have one. While I was in Michigan, I was also a member of the 1999 NCAA National Championship men's gymnastics team. Oh, thanks. And I'm still actually an international gymnastics judge to this day. About a month ago, I just came home from Cairo, Egypt, where I represented the United States at a major competition there. It was really cool. But after my time in college, I had this kind of sense of service that goes back in my family all the way to the Civil War, and I joined the United States Navy. Thanks. How many vets? A lot of vets. I know Scott's a vet. I was commissioned an officer about 3 weeks before September 11th. Then I went through nuclear power and submarine training, and I served 3 years on a fast attack submarine based out of Pearl Harbor, Hawaii, and we deployed out of there. Actually, my very first underway on the ship, another boat from my squadron fired the very first missiles of the 2003 Gulf War. Then after my time in the ship, I forgot what Navy stands for. Who knows? Never again volunteer yourself? I know Scott knows. And I volunteered for a combat tour in Iraq with an Army Special Operations Unit. I was there from 2006 to 2007. The second half of my tour was the Surge. I went on about 200 combat missions and was maybe 30 miles away when Saddam Hussein was executed. After those 200 combat missions and 395 days from when I left my house, I walked back in. And then I became a professor of electrical engineering at the United States Naval Academy. Great job, highly recommend it. Then I got out of the service, my wife and I moved to Australia for a year because, why not? And then, man, the crowd, you guys are laughing a lot, this is great. And then I got a job here in Florida working for a Fortune 500 company doing data and financial analytics and helping to manage about 5,000 people all over the world. Then in 2016, my wife and I opened our own small business, and life was moving along pretty well. We never really gotten involved in politics. Then my wife wanted to start helping a bit, so she started canvassing for Hillary Clinton in 2016.
excited to watch the United States elect its first female president. So we had an election night watch party in 2016. Yeah, you know what's coming. By about 9:30, my wife had kicked everybody out, and she just looked at me and said, "Fix it." I was like, "Fix it? Like, what the hell do you want me to do?" And I do apologize if I swear, I was a sailor for 8 years. I was like, "Fix it, like what do you want me to do?" So we started looking into helping some of our local candidates. You know, as the 2018 cycle was approaching and we were helping a local congressional candidate, a local school board candidate, still weren't really involved. I was still actually not even a registered Democrat. But then my phone started ringing in March of 2018, March of the election year. Somebody in my district had filed to run for the state legislature, and the last time this person was in office, they were responsible for banning LGBT pride in Hillsborough County for 8 years. And no Democrats were running against them. See, now my brother-in-law is gay, and he and his husband adopted a baby here in Florida. And it was up to this person, his family, our family, would be illegal. And I thought that was bullshit. Well, it's true. And I never really liked bullies, so I registered as a Democrat and I filed to run. It was an R+9 seat, who knows what that means? Okay, pretty much everybody in here. It means in 2016, the Republican had won the seat by 9%, by 9 points. We had no help, nobody expected us to do well, the state didn't help us, the county didn't help us, it was just my wife and I. And by election night, we had flipped the district by 12 points. First Democrat elected to the Florida House of Representatives from Eastern Hillsborough County in over 2 decades. And I was really excited when I got to Tallahassee. You know, that sense of service like I had in the military was kicking in, that I was going to be able to make a difference. Who's been in Tallahassee during session? Oh, I'm so sorry. All I saw when I got there was political theater and corruption everywhere that I looked. I saw a system that after 25 years of being mired in single-party rule needs to be absolutely flipped on its head. I've seen a system that, and a CFO who's been so just worried about getting little pats on the head from Ron DeSantis and padding his own campaign coffers and taking money from big insurance companies that he's left everybody in this room behind. The state of Florida is in a major property insurance crisis. It's been all over the news. I see a lot of heads nodding. You know about this. The current CFO has had 5 years to get in front of this eminently predictable crisis that we're in. He's done exactly nothing to help anybody in this room. He's done nothing to help anybody in the villages. He's done nothing to help anybody in the state of Florida. I'm pretty sure none of you guys are renters, but if you're a renter, if your rent has gone up, or if you're a homeowner, your property insurance has gone up, raise your hand. That's everybody in the room. Personally, my property insurance has gone up 83% this year. And then 6 days ago, I have to keep changing this as more campaign events. 6 days ago, we got a call from our insurance company that they were leaving Florida and we have been dropped. Welcome to hurricane season. This is happening all across the state. Just this year alone, we've had 5 major insurance companies go insolvent. We've had 3 more have their ratings reduced, which means they can no longer do business in Florida. In the past 5 years, we've had over a dozen major insurance companies be forced to leave the state or fold. The CFO is supposed to be the one protecting you from this happening. Somebody made a really good analogy to me a while ago. They said, if you let a kid out in a candy store and say, just do whatever you want, eventually they're going to eat so much candy they're going to be sick, right? The insurance industry in Florida has gotten away with everything they've wanted, and now our industry is sick. And it's costing every person in here money. This particular race, this isn't a Democratic issue. It's not a Republican issue. It's not an independent issue. It's a Floridian issue. It affects all 22 million of us. So for this race, I always say, I do care who you vote for, but I say, I don't care who you vote for. Don't vote with your heart. Don't vote with your party. It's time to vote with your wallets. The Republicans in Tallahassee, actually I need to stop saying that. We were up in Tallahassee a few weeks ago. The mayor of Tallahassee, John Daly, let us crash at his house, and He always gets so offended when people say, the problem is Tallahassee. Tallahassee is one of our most democratic cities in the state. The problem is the legislature. And we've had a legislature that has gotten so bogged down in this single party rule. They've been there for so long that they've run out of conservative things to do. They keep saying, conservative fighter, conservative this. Who knows that in the last legislative session, just after midnight, they voted to put a $1 billion online sales tax on Floridians. The Republicans did that. That's not very conservative. Who remembers when Disney was in the news because they dared make an opinion, and then Ron DeSantis and the legislature brought the full force of government down upon them? Government getting involved in business because of an opinion. That's not very conservative. I don't know what's going on in the legislature right now, but I can tell you it's not traditional conservatism. Small government's power is being preempted by the state. Small government is supposed to be better. That's what my father, who's a staunch Republican, always told me when I was a little kid. And by taking all that power away, that's not very conservative. They've weaponized government. Who here is pissed off about what's been going on? Okay, I'd like to see that. Every single hand. We've seen attacks on small businesses coming out of the legislature. We've seen attacks on minorities, attacks on the LGBT community. We've seen attacks on women. And we know after the Dobbs decision, we're going to see renewed attacks on women. And we're going to go back 50 years here in Florida. But we can change that. We can stop that. Another function of the CFO is also the state auditor. And let me tell you, nobody can crawl up some numbers like a nuclear submarine officer. And having checks and balances back in government, having that accountability is really part of what the founders wanted. When it comes down to it, if you don't want to ever hear the phrase, President Ron DeSantis, then you want a Democrat as your CFO. You need a Democrat as your CFO. And again, I am your Democratic nominee for Chief Financial Officer. I appreciate you guys letting me talk to you today. I'd love to take a few questions. It's been a really engaging crowd. Anybody have some questions? I'm taller on television. I'm back here, we'll say it like in row 4, row 5.
How long have you been a Democrat? And if you weren't before, why did you change?
So I was an independent my whole life. Actually, if I remember right, my very first election I voted in 1996 in Colorado, I think I was a registered Republican. But then when I joined the military, I felt, politics, that has to stay separate. So when I moved, I was registered as an independent. I was voted Democrat. But then I registered as a Democrat before I filed to run in 2018. And again, I was the first Democrat to represent Eastern Hillsborough County in the legislature in over 20 years. And if you look at the bills that I fought for, and you look at the things that I voted and the things I took stands on, even though I look like a Republican, I'm a short, veteran white guy. And I got asked 3 or 4 times a day in the Capitol every day, hey, you want to switch parties? Like, no. If you look at my voting record, I was actually one of the most progressive members of the legislature. What else? What else we got? Yes?
What can be done about this insurance crisis?
So if everybody heard the question, what can be done about this insurance crisis? So there's actually quite a lot of things we can do. So the CFO, as the head of the Office of Insurance Regulation, gets to appoint the state insurance commissioner. You would think that the insurance commissioner would have a background in insurance. This guy was a 3rd grade teacher from, I want to say Tennessee, if I remember correctly. He's there literally to rubber stamp every single thing that Ron DeSantis wants and every single thing that the insurance lobbies want. So the very first step is we need to replace the insurance commissioner with someone who knows what the hell they're doing. Second, we need to elect somebody who's finally ready to put consumers first instead of insurance companies. And we haven't had that person as the CFO since our last Democratic Chief Financial Officer, Alex Sink, from 2007 to 2011. She's endorsed We, by the way, even held a fundraiser for us at our home. It's great. So restaffing up the Office of the Consumer Insurance Advocate is important. And then something that I did, who remembers Amendment 4 in 2018? Re-enfranchising felons to get the right to vote back after the term of service. Right? Yeah, I was the one who died on that hill in the legislature. If you remember, the Republicans there, they basically, in the enacting legislation, wiped out the will of the voters and 64% of Florida's voters. And they put a monetary function to be able to get your right to vote back, which is a poll tax. And I called it a poll tax in the Criminal Justice Subcommittee. And the Republicans, in retribution, killed all of my legislation that had to do with helping veterans, that had to do with helping sexual assault victims, that had to do with helping disabled children. But I died on that hill because 64% of Floridians voted for something. That is the hill to die on. But in that subcommittee, people were asking, how do we enact this? How do we do this? 46 states have done this before us. So I asked them, what have the 46 other states done? Nobody had an answer, because nobody cared to look. Florida's in this insurance crisis because we don't care to look what other states have done to be successful. Insurance companies always say, oh, Florida, the rates are high and it's risky to do business there because we have hurricanes. Which is true, we do. So does Texas, so does Louisiana, so does Alabama, Mississippi, Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina. We are the only state in this property insurance kerfuffle, or whatever different word instead of crisis. We need to look at what other states are doing to be successful. For example, in Texas, they require insurance companies to keep the premiums they collect, keep their capital in the state. So if there is a disaster, they have that money available to be able to cover those claims. Every Florida property insurance company is owned by an out-of-state parent company that are sucking away fees and admin costs and other fees, are sucking all the capital out of Florida. There was about, 10 or 12 years we did not have a major named storm. Everybody was still paying their property insurance premiums. Then when Hurricane Michael came through 4 years ago, and Hurricane Irma, all the property insurance companies had no money to pay those claims because it had all been taken out of the state. That's one of the major drivers of why we're in this property insurance crisis. We have to look at what other states have done to be successful. See, now the legislature was in special session in May, specifically to try to fix the property insurance crisis. Again, the CFO's been in office for 5 years, has had 5 legislative sessions to work with legislators to fix this. He's done exactly nothing. He was not involved in the special session, by the way. I'm not even sure he was in Tallahassee. Floridians were polled across the state. Nearly 90% said that 2 things they do not want coming out of the special session are our rates to go up and our coverage to go down. Guess what happened? Our rates went up and your coverage went down, and the legislature gave a $2 billion corporate bailout to property insurance companies, and all of the onus and responsibility falls on your shoulders. We need to get somebody up there who cares about your shoulders, and cares about your bank account, and cares about protecting the ratings in their homes. So there's a lot we can do straight off the bat to address this property insurance crisis. I mean, it's not a flick of the switch kind of fix. It's going to take 2, 3, 4 years because the industry has been in such a state of sickness for so long. But we can fix it if we get somebody who has a priority to do that for you. What else? What other questions? Yes, 2 people raised their hands right in a row here. You can fight over who wants to ask first.
If we're doing all that to support the insurance companies, how come they're going bankrupt and leaving the state?
That's a great question. Another function of the CFO, when a property insurance company goes insolvent or goes into receivership, one of the functions the CFO's office is supposed to audit and do a major deep dive to find out exactly why. In the Navy, we call it a root cause analysis. And you keep asking why until you can't ask why anymore and you get to that root cause. Of the past 12 insurance companies that have gone insolvent in the last about 8 or so years, the CFO's office has done 0 of these audits, even though they are required by law. During the special session, there's a big kind of ado about it, and they came out with one report. It was, I think, 4 pages long that said nothing. So when it comes down to it, we don't even know why this is happening. We kind of know. but officially we don't know why. And it's really been, all the legislation and regulation has been industry-focused instead of consumer-focused. Insurance companies are seeing higher risk in Florida due to sea level rise and seawater intrusion along our coasts. And Florida has done nothing for resiliency to harden our infrastructure. So if everyone remembers in 2018 when Nikki was running for Ag Commissioner, she had her 3 W's, right? Water, weed, and weapons. I have 3 I's: insurance, investigations, and infrastructure. We've talked about insurance. I've talked about investigations a bit with auditing. Infrastructure, right now the state of Florida has a $20 billion budget surplus. Over half of it came from the federal government, by the way. $20 billion sitting there doing absolutely nothing. Where we could be investing in the future of Florida, investing in coastal resiliency, investing in hardening our coasts and preventing saltwater intrusion and helping to combat sea level rise. If we do that, the risk for insurance companies goes down. When the risk goes lower, it's going to encourage more property insurance companies to come back to Florida. More companies means more competitions, less risk, all means rates go down. But we're sitting on $20 billion for I don't know why, for a talking point for Ron DeSantis. What else? We have 2 seats over.
Is there going to be a public debate between you and your opponent, and are we able to publicize it?
That's a great question. Is there going to be a public debate between myself and my opponent? His name is Jimmy Patronis, by the way. I would be shocked if he agrees to a debate because of all of these issues, and especially with property insurance. The Democratic Governors Association did a poll statewide. Out of all the statewide elected officials, the current CFO has the lowest name ID of any in the state. It's less than 7%. He's doing that on purpose. He's hiding. One, because not a lot of people know what the CFO does, and he likes that because they don't understand that the insurance crisis is basically his fault. And if they don't know his name, they can't blame him. We've put it out there to do a debate. Different groups across the state have contacted us and his office to do a debate. To my knowledge, so far, he's not agreed. I would be shocked if he agrees. If he does, we will be announcing that far and wide because it'll be awesome and fun to watch. And it'll be fun to participate in. Yes.
Now that DeSantis is getting a lot more press scrutiny, does he have anything to worry about?
Does what?
Does he have anything to worry about?
Ooh, that's a good question. You know, if you'd asked me a month ago, I would have said, no, he doesn't have anything to worry about. But the news of the past week and a half, yeah, I think he does. You know what? Plus some of the additional overreach that not just the legislature, but DeSantis himself has been doing, people are starting to notice, and they're getting pretty pissed off. I'm from Hillsborough County. I'm sure you all saw in the news when the governor came down last week and for political hit job, removed one of our twice elected, two elected elections, removed one of our elected officials, our state attorney, for something he hasn't even done. A lot of this,
He's done it here too.
yeah,
Yes.
and a lot of this overreach is really starting to tick some people off. And with the immediate defense of 45 over it's not even a raid, the search at Mar-a-Lago, that initial hot take of them all freaking out and defending him is not a good look. And it's affecting all of them. 2 polls came out this past week, statewide, for the U.S. Senate race here in Florida. Both polls have Rubio and Val Demings tied. And we have not seen that yet until this week. And a lot of people assume, Ron DeSantis is in a strong position. He has, more money than God in his political committee. But a lot of times that doesn't matter. Yeah, he'll be on TV a lot, but our nominee is going to be on TV a whole lot too. I have a little bet with my wife. I think within the first week after the primary, once our gubernatorial nominee is determined from across the country, I'm betting they're going to raise over $30 million from across the country, from Democrats across the U.S. who want to stop Ron DeSantis. That's a guess.
Maybe you can't answer this, but
I don't know. I'm not going to speculate on that one.
Talks about it in Tallahassee.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I was a freshman legislator in the minority party. I think I met the dude twice. You know, so they wouldn't take a meeting with us. They wouldn't even take a meeting with the Democratic leader. What else? Yes.
Not to be negative, but with all your good ideas, can any of them be enacted if the legislature is still Republican?
So that's a really good question. And, you know, Nikki was able to get several things through, you know, as a Democrat with a Republican legislature. But the CFO, being the state auditor, and how I can dig into every single state department, division, elected official, employees, into what they've been doing with your money, we have a little more teeth with some of the things that we would want to do as a CFO. And a lot of these insurance issues, as long as we frame them right, are win-win for everybody, including the Republicans. Like, if they had actually saved property insurance during this legislative special session, we wouldn't have a prayer this cycle. But they boned it up for their own good. Having me as the CFO, and when I speak Republican, you know, I was up there for a couple of years, I've already looked Republican. I've worked with Republicans. I know all the legislators. I already have a pretty good base to be able to get some things pushed through, especially when we're able to frame it as positive for both sides of the aisle. That's one thing that the Republicans here in Florida have forgotten. When you're elected, you represent everybody. Not just your party, not just the people you vote for, who voted for you, but everybody. You know, when I was in the legislature toward the end of my term is when COVID started. We helped, I think 12,000 people from my legislative office navigate the state's horrible unemployment system. I didn't ask if they were a Democrat or Republican. I didn't ask if they voted for me. I didn't even ask if they were in my district. We were getting calls from all over the state. Hey, I can't find any help. My representative won't help me. My legislator won't help me. I don't know what to do. So we helped. There were 4 or 5 of us legislators. Adam Hattersley did it. Jason Pizzo did it. A few of us who helped thousands of people because nobody else would. So as long as you remember that you're there representing everybody, you can push through some good legislation, especially behind the scenes. So yes, I do see positives and ability to get some of this through. Yes, right here in the front.
So if you audit somebody and you find out, or the department, you find out that they've done something inappropriate, and you then release that information to the public, to the press?
So the question was, if we do an audit and we find wrongdoing or whatnot, can we release that information? Even better, the CFO's office has about 80 or so folks. We have a small detachment that we control, the Florida Department of Law Enforcement. So not only could we potentially alert the press, we could perp walk them, you know, depending how badly they have broken the law. Yes?
Are you able to get this amazing story out to ordinary Republican?
That's a great, and that's a very flattering question. You should say, are you able to get this amazing story out to ordinary Republican voters? And usually the candidate doesn't say this part, but I'm going to. We need your help. Again, I am the nominee. I don't have a primary. Everyone can go on their phones, go to www.adam4florida.com. Again, I went to Michigan, it's all maize and blue. There's a big yellow donate button. We're gonna need probably about, what, $3 million to win this race? For television and radio and newspaper and everything across the state. You know, we're getting there, but we are outnumbered, we are outgunned when it comes to money, but it's not untenable. When I ran for the state house, I was outspent 3-to-1 with hard campaign dollars and about 9-to-1 with political committee dollars. But we were still able to win because we were able to get our message out. Now in a state house district, there's 120 state house seats in Florida, about 110,000 voters per state house seat, close to 200,000 residents. A small team of volunteers can knock on a lot of those doors. Statewide, I can't knock on 10 million doors. Granted, we are part of the coordinated campaign through FDP, and as soon as the primary is over and we have the whole slate, everyone's going to be getting those slate cards to canvass and knock doors, but we need your help. We need volunteers to be knocking on those doors, and Not like Democratic doors. We know we can rely on them. We need independent and NPA and light, I call them light Republicans, light Republican women. Yeah. We couple this message of vote with your wallet, especially with the light Republican women, with the Dobbs decision, because close to 70% of Florida is pro-choice. And if they yell at you and scream at you, fine, move on to the next door. But we have to get more engaged in these campaigns, in these elections. Who's done text banking before? How about phone banking? Who's done canvassing? Okay, a good group. We have to continue to do things that we have not done in the past. We've done the same thing in Florida elections for 20 years. We lose every time. We have to do something different this time. So if you have done phone banking, try canvassing. It's awkward the first few doors, but you get over it. If you've done canvassing, awesome. Find 5 more friends to help canvass. That's been shown to be the most effective way to persuade people and change their vote. Gather volunteers, start a TikTok page or a Twitter page, dress your dog up in your favorite Adam Hattersley for CFO t-shirt. We have to try new things if we're gonna have a different outcome this cycle. So we can absolutely win. And just so you know, out of all the statewide races, this is the most winnable by far. Because one, Jimmy has such bad name ID, and the people who do know him think he's doing a terrible job. Even the Republicans in the legislature, when you mention his name, or the lobbyists are like, ugh. So we absolutely have a shot to win this race. And if we want that firewall between Florida and I'm not sure what they're called, QAnon party anymore, we need to win this race. What else? What else we got? Yes, we have, I think, we have 2 right in a row here.
Do you have a clip that you can send us that we can forward to our friends who are Republicans?
Like a video clip?
What do you have to say?
Yeah, we do. Well, we have just a lot of information, but yeah, we do have a little video. I think it's like 30-second or 60-second little spot. Actually, we could probably get Mike's info. We could send you a link to it.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, yeah, we can absolutely share that. Yes.
What is Jimmy's last name?
So who is your opponent? His name is Jimmy Petronas. So he was a state representative from Bay County. Then he termed out like in 2014 or so. And then he just followed Rick Scott around until the CFO at the time resigned and Rick Scott appointed him as the CFO. His background, so you heard my background, aerospace engineering, nuclear engineering, electrical engineering, combat, war, all that stuff. His daddy gave him a fish restaurant and then he was appointed to the job. That's also probably why he won't debate us. What else? Oh, I think I'm getting the hook here in a second. Any other questions? Yes, right here in the front.
Couldn't you go on the TV and challenge him to a debate?
And the question is, can you go on TV and challenge him to a debate? Absolutely. But we need about $300,000 to get a statewide TV ad buy to even make that challenge. So yeah, again, adamforflorida.com, hit that donate button. What else? I know I use I look taller on TV joke, so it's already dead. Oh, so wait, somebody has a Michigan koozie right there. Hail to the victors. I'm talking about. Who's ready for college football in a couple of weeks? There we go. Was there a question in the back there, or no? Okay. Well, thank you again. Oh, wait, one more in the front.
Can we donate here? We don't have to wait and do it online. Can't we donate here?
You can absolutely donate here. We have QR codes on our info. You can just scan it with your phone. Takes you right to the website. I think I might have some envelopes in the car, so I can go get those. And if anybody's feeling very saucy, it's Hattersley for CFO on a check, whatever you want to do. No, thank you again so much for letting me speak to you today. This is a great group up here. Don't let that scare us. Good. Because like the Republicans, their messaging, it relies on fear and emotion. And we can't let them bully us. We are just as numerous, we are just as strong, and we're ready to do the work for the people. So thank you again, I appreciate it.
from Lake and Lake County here. Luann, do you want to say a few words?
I do.
Okay.
Hello. I want to reach out to everybody who's a voter from Lake County, but also the people from Sumter. We have two candidates that are running. One is Stephanie Dukes running for the state senate and Linda Kiro running for the House of Representatives. We need your help. We need phone calling for name recognition to the NPAs. The precincts have all changed, as most of you know. So if anybody wants help contacting whatever, Lake County is the Chula Vista area, the Spanish Springs area, and up near the historic side, as well as Pine Hills and Pine Ridge. So if anybody is interested, we're really looking at trying to get somebody elected from our area, hopefully. Thank you.
Thank you, Luann. And Bob, you want to say anything for a minute? Sure.
All right, thanks, Mike. For those of you who have signed up for vote by mail, we have enrolled about 57% of Democrats in Sumter County in vote by mail. Please get your ballots in. Make sure you sign and date the back. You can either mail them in or drop them at any of the 7 early voting locations. Early voting started this morning at 9 a.m. So if you have a ballot and you'd rather vote in person, you can either take it or not take it. It doesn't matter. With a valid ID, they will check you in and say, oh, I see you have a mail ballot. Would you like to vote in person? And if you say yes, they will cancel that ballot. So we have 7. You can vote at any of the 7 locations. The hours are a little bit different and the locations are different. It's 9 to 6 for early voting. But on election day, you have to vote at your own polling location. And a number of them have changed. So please check SumterFLDemocrats.com. We have a voter guide. We have a universal primary in Sumter County. And so we can vote for the Republican commissioners. So we have some suggestions and some resources for that. So vote, vote, vote.
Thanks, Bob. That's a great segue. If you look on the screen, there has been some there's been some rule changes for how to vote and signatures. There's been some problems with signatures. So sometimes it's inadvertent. Your signatures don't match, or you might sign the wrong envelope with your wife, or you might not sign at all. So anyway. With that, Eric Lipsitz is going to spend a little bit of time talking about voter protection and the voting stats. And if you're ready, Eric, come on up.
I'm Eric Lipsitz, your first vice president. This is a slide that we had presented before. And what I am going to go through, perhaps with an introduction, if I may. I could teach you about, I'm a lawyer, and I could teach you about contract interpretation in 1 minute. It says you interpret the contract pursuant to its objective words. If the words say what they are supposed to mean, then the court interprets them that way. What we have here in America is evidence of what the Constitution means. And that evidence of what the Constitution means is in the Declaration of Independence. All men are created equal and endowed by their Creator inalienable rights of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Now, I am aware that it says all men. But it is everybody now knows it means everybody. That's why everybody in the world wants to get here. I'm from Maryland, and in Maryland is such a democratic state, nobody even bothers to advertise in Maryland. Now I live in Florida with all the rest of you. We are the battleground. This is our chance to do exactly what we've talked about, and that is, this is our chance to turn this country to our founding ideals so that everyone is treated with respect, everyone is treated equally, and everybody has a shot. And that's what we are working on now, today. Who here is a poll watcher? Who here is an outside poll watcher? If you're an outside poll watcher, do you have a sign for your car? One person. Guess what? Here are the signs that Bob Berg is holding up. As you walk out, grab a sign, and that way we will be able to do that. There are almost 200 people amongst the people here and elsewhere in the county that are working on this election, in this election, which is a dress rehearsal for what's supposed to happen in November. And we are learning new things as we go along. This was a slide that I put up earlier that showed what happened in 2020. It is quite illustrative, if I may. Democrats cast 19,000 ballots, the NPAs cast 16,752, and the Republicans cast 65,000. But what were the results? Trump got 62,000, Biden 29,000, the difference was 33,000. 19,000 Democrats voted, but Biden got 29,000 votes. Where did those other 10,000 votes come from? Well, they came from 3,000 Republicans who abandoned their particular party to vote for Biden, and the rest came from NPAs. One of the things that the DEC, Bob Berg, is doing is texting these 16,000 plus NPAs, and they are breaking 60-40 Democrat. Now, when you look at these numbers and you see 65,000 Republican votes to 19,000 Democratic votes, even if you were to give us every NPA, that still only takes us to 35,000. What it looks like an impossible hill to climb. Next slide, if I could, Rick. This is our bogey. We do not have to go ahead and wipe out all the Republicans, the Republican vote here in Sumter County. Don't need to do that. What we need to do is reduce that 33,000 margin down to 28. If we reduce that margin by 5,000 votes, and the other counties similarly reduce their differences where these heavy Republican parties, we will sweep into office. Andy Gilliam lost by 33,000 votes out of 8 million cast. This is our opportunity to do exactly what Adam was talking about. This is our opportunity for us to take back our government and turn our government to a place where it works for us, not special interests. And I do want to make one comment that above all else, homeowners insurance, everything. What's on the ballot this time is democracy versus dictatorship. There are some people who say, oh, we need to work with the Republicans, reach across the aisle. That is not on the ballot this time. It is democracy versus dictatorship. Now, and the other hard truth is that we must face is that the likely Republican nominee for president in 2024 is going to be either Ron DeSantis or Donald Trump. This is our opportunity to take DeSantis down. DeSantis cannot run in 2024 if he just lost an election for Florida. And it will give us Trump, who is carrying so much baggage, I don't think he'll be able to get out of the rat hole that he's currently in. Next one. What are we doing now? I just received a email from people who tell me that every one of our poll watchers is in place. 7 out of 7. They're going to be in place in the afternoon. Bob, take a little bow if you wouldn't mind. We didn't talk about it. Bob has launched an innovative program that has been recognized by the Florida Democratic Party as identifying by address, by telephone number, by text, who are the NPAs who lean left. And we are contacting them and making them and helping them get to the polls so that when the time comes in November, we can send DeSantis and Rubio packing and put Adam in office. These are the numbers we are working with. 65% of the Democrats here, most of all of you have voted or done whatever it is that you have done. Either you're going to go vote by early mail today or over the next 10 days. But 65% constantly turn out. We're contacting them to make sure that they vote. 35% don't. We're contacting them. We're making sure that they vote. We are reaching for every vote that there is. I've talked about Bob's identifying the Democratic-leaning NPAs. We're contacting them. We are pushing, and we are not pushing and wasting time. We are pushing where we can get votes. We've staffed the early voting sites with poll watchers inside and out. There are 124 people from the clubs and elsewhere in Sumter County that are spending 4 hours just watching what's going on inside the polling area. 124 people have volunteered for that. If you're a volunteer who's doing the poll watching, thank you. If you want to be a poll watcher, we do have some open spaces, and we'll be talking about that in less than a minute. Here's a problem that came up that we weren't aware of. It turns out that we are following up on undelivered ballots. The supervisor of election went ahead and sent out the ballot to the last known address, got returned. Bob, there were 107 of them. Bob has put together a team to chase people who haven't even gotten their ballot yet. That's part of the stuff we're doing. Ballot curing. There are people in this room who have devoted so much time, it's only fair that I acknowledge at least one of them, my colleague Dennis Foley, who is ballot curing, poll watching, being in the boiler room, being a rover. There are people like Dennis. Dennis, are you still here? Stand up. Dennis knows the stakes, the seriousness of which we are playing in this particular election. I think all of us do. But we expected to get somewhere between 3 to 10 ballots based on what happened in 2020. We expected to get somewhere between 3 to 10 ballots that needed to be cured. We've gotten over 80. And that was through August the 10th, as opposed to what's going to go forward. This is one of the things that has occurred in this particular election, something that has occurred that we didn't anticipate, that we are working. So we need ballot curers. We need people to start making these calls. That's calling somebody up saying your ballot doesn't count. For those of you who have not yet voted by mail, of the 80 ballot cures that we have so far, almost all of them are husband and wives, and we think that the difficulty is the husband signing the wife's ballot and the wife signing the husband's ballot. When you vote by mail, make sure you are signing your own ballot. And the other thing is, make sure that you sign your ballot based on the signature that is somewhere on file with the supervisor of elections or the Department of Motor Vehicles or wherever it is. I write my name like this, but sometimes, like when it used to be on American Express checks, I would like write it normally. Copy your driver's license would be my advice. Make sure that you give a reasonable facsimile of what your signature is, and then if it doesn't work, you will hear back from the supervisor of elections within a day. They'll tell you what the problem is. Give us a call. Call the DEC, call Mike. If you're a ballot poll watcher, my phone number is everywhere. Call me. We have a ballot curing team. We also have people who are monitoring the canvass. We have a special team composed of some lawyers who are going to check when signatures are challenged at the canvass, which is when they check all these things, that make sure that everything goes through. We have that covered also. Now, whatever has worked before, in 2018, we had a boiler room where a bunch of people went to the DEC over in Wildwood and sat there and were a centralized location. 2020 involved the pandemic, and we did it remotely. We're using remote this year. 8 people are helping put together the boiler room, Bob, Dennis being 2 of them. And we're doing this remotely. We hope it works well. For those of you who are outside poll watchers, who after your evening shift, you had to take your signs back to the DEC office to be picked up by the outside person the next day, we got rid of that. And these signs that are there, keep. And so if you're gonna outside poll watch again, keep it on your car. For those of you who want a sign, take one, stick it on your car. Whatever works, we're using. Whatever doesn't, we're getting rid of. Next slide, Rick. We need your help. Our ballot curing section at this particular point consists of 2 people. It's easy, it's friendly. It calls people up and says, calling people up and teaching them how to do it. They call it an affidavit. It's not even an affidavit, it's a declaration. You just get people to sign it and make sure it goes in. We need help. The boiler room that I thought we were going to need 8 people for, it turns out we need 16. A mistake. If you want to work in the boiler room, answer questions from the field, you can't answer them, you refer them to me and I'll see what I can do. We need help. This is not the time to not help. We need your help. I'll be sitting right over there with Bob if you want to come up and you want to help in any way possible. Please do, so that when your granddaughter or your daughter says, "What did you do in 2022?" you will be able to say, "I was there. I helped. I participated." And lastly, I can't tell you how thrilled I am to see everybody in some kind of blue today. If you're not in some kind of blue, change. I got so sick and tired of seeing 200 golf carts go for Trump in the villages for Trump. We Democrats are everywhere. Everywhere. Today, I counted up the number of people in here. There are over 200 people in here. Wear your blue shirts out. It would be like our secret handshake, right? Hey, that person's a Democrat. Great, but I can tell you, it's not only the people here, it's people all across Sumter County, and specifically all across here in the villages. You see somebody in blue, give them a wink. We are everywhere. And I cannot emphasize this enough. Val Demings, 4545. Our gubernatorial candidate, I'm aware of one, 4845. The Republicans are digging themselves into a hole they cannot get out of. It is time for us to close the lid on this nightmare of an administration that we have had for the past 6 years, and victory. Not complaining about, oh, we live in Sumter and there's 65,000 Republicans here. Victory. Victory is in sight. We need your help on the front lines. Come join us.
Okay, I hope you'll hang around for a while and talk to Adam and talk to the Public Education Caucus, who's over sitting by Adam. And we're glad they're here. We're glad you guys showed up. And who do you think how many out there think that they ought to do a presentation for us in the future? Okay, with that, I want to thank all the volunteers. I want to thank everybody from the board. These meetings don't just happen. There's a lot of work goes on behind the scene. Diane, Dennis, everybody out there. Shirley, Marcia, even all the spouses, the wives, the DEC, Lake. Marion hasn't showed up, but they're typically here. And we appreciate all your help. And where else do you get free coffee on a Saturday? So with that, I will sign off. So have a great day, everybody, and come up and talk to these folks.